What's up, Chuckers? Producer Mike here. Welcome to your Served 5-Setter, a weekly roundup of all things Racket Sports, 5 stories in 10 minutes or less. Today is February 13th, 2026. While the hard courts are heating up, some players are boiling over. Here's what we've got. What's up with Wearables, Padel's controversy, a lucky loser turned winner, and the Phenom versus the One. But first, some Rotterdam rants. We're starting in the Netherlands, where Alexander Bublik has a love-hate relationship with Rotterdam. Mostly hate. Sporting a 3-6 record there, the world number 10 has never been past the second round. And once again, things weren't going his way during the first round match against Hubie Hurkacz. Down a set and a break, Bublik seemed to blame Hubie for pulling a, quote, Bublik, giving him absolutely zero rhythm. Check it out as seen on Tennis TV, cut up for IG by our forensic baseline highlights.
Nice. Ace, double for shank, ace, shank, double for what the is that? Game is not tennis. They tell me I'm breaking the rhythm. Are you kidding me? Nice one. That's where he aimed, 100%.
Bublik won the match 7-5 in the third. Afterwards, the on-court interviewer suggested that maybe Rotterdam wasn't so bad after all, and Bublik delivered this doozy of a quote, saying, "Who told you that? Why is it not bad? This was only one match." Never change, bro. It is hard to believe, though, that Hubie lost that match. He hit 25 aces, won 91% of his first serve points, but what seemed to do him in, and also produce this image from Bublik, Hubie served 3 double faults while serving for the match. Ouch. Speaking of Rotterdam meltdowns, Daniil Medvedev was also in fine form, having a classic Medi moment, upset about the balls. Check it out.
Stop! These balls are horrible! Delete these balls from the line! They're horrendous!
Court violation and sportsmanlike conduct, warning Mr. Medvedev.
There's a part 2 to that. For the full Medi story, go to servepodcast.com and sign up for the newsletter. All right, on to set number 2, where we have an update from JW on a recent development coming out of an ATP meeting that may shed some light on wearables. Mr. Wertheim, what have you got?
We were given a copy of the ATP board minute meetings from the most recent board meeting that was held in late January in Australia. One interesting note, this is not item level 1A. This does not have to do with the possible merger with the WTA, which was discussed. This does not have to do with the schedule in 2028 to accommodate the Saudi event, which was discussed. But at some point in the meeting, a discussion did come up about wearables, about wearable technology. Remember, this was a hot button issue during the 2026 Australian Open. Carlos Alcaraz, Aryna Sabalenka, they were among the players told to remove their wearable technology during matches. Why? Because even though wearable technology is permitted per the tours, the Grand Slams have different rules. Why were players told to remove their devices? There was speculation. Maybe this had to do with performance enhancement. Whoop quickly weighed in and said data is not steroids. There was suspicion. Maybe this had to do with possible corruption, with an ability to tell players about betting odds. That didn't seem to be the case either. What did seem to be the case is that the Grand Slams have separate deals with data companies. And did these data deals run in conflict with the data players would be getting through their wearables? That did seem to be the reason why the players were told to remove their wearables. In any event, at this board meeting, the ATP voted on expanding the use of wearables. So it does seem like this is a real front between players, tours, and the Grand Slams. Wearables are here to stay. Wearables has valuable data for player performance, but also for player health and safety. Keep an eye on this space because the ATP has acted and did have this come up at their last board meeting, and it does seem as though wearables and their expansive use are now very much been approved by the tours.
All right, on to the third set. Padel is growing fast, and that means growing pains. The Premier Padel Tour kicked off its 2026 season in Riyadh this week, but not without some drama. The tour introduced a major rule change called the, quote, star point system. Basically, games will feature a maximum of 2 deuces. If you hit a third deuce, it becomes a sudden death point. It's an attempt to make the sport more TV-friendly and avoid marathon games. But the players, they aren't happy. The Padel Players Association, or PPA, says these decisions were made without their input. PPA Secretary Jose Antonio Garcia Diestro told the Spanish press that, quote, there is no longer a relationship with Premier Padel. Considering the PPA helped Premier Padel take over the sport from the old World Padel Tour, this is a massive rift. We'll see if the Star Point survives the season. Set number 4 takes us to Doha, where the training room was busier than the center court. Defending champ Amanda Anisimova and Emma Raducanu both retired from their first matches due to illness, and Coco Gauff followed them with an early exit, falling to lucky loser Elisabetta Cucciaretto. Cucciaretto is having quite the week. By reaching the quarterfinals, she equals the best result by a lucky loser at a WTA 1000 since the level was introduced in 2009, tying Taylor Townsend's run in Toronto just 2 years ago. However, her run has come to an end on Thursday, losing to Yelena Ostapenko. All right, and time for the 5th and final set, and we are staying in Doha. Keep your eyes on Victoria Mboko. The teenage phenom has taken down fellow rising star Mira Andreeva, as well as besting reigning Australian Open champion Elena Rybakina in the quarters in a 3-set thriller, with the 19-year-old sealing the match with her 6th service break. Mboko is coming off a breakout 2025 campaign in which she won 2 titles, including a WTA 1000 level crown at the National Bank Open in Montreal. Mboko has won 28 main draw WTA Tour matches as of this recording. That is more than anyone except for Iga Swiatek and Elena Rybakina. And speaking of Iga, Maria Sakkari finally stopped the bleeding Thursday when she beat the number 1 seed in a tight 3-setter. The win snaps a 4-match losing skid to Swiatek that included a loss in Doha last year. But Iga doesn't leave empty-handed. She has now reached the quarterfinals at 61.9% of the WTA 1000's events that she has played. That is the highest percentage since the tournament level was introduced in 2009. And that brings us to this week's tiebreak trivia. Which Hall of Famer whom Iga has never played did she knock off the top spot to claim that record? Sign up for the 5-setter newsletter to find the answer if you haven't already Googled it. And while you're at it, check out the headlines that didn't make the cut this week, which include Taylor Fritz's Dallas Open clothing prank, is Fonseca in doubt for the Golden Swing, Jannik Sinner is bromancing with Shaun White at the Olympics, pickleball's internal rivalry goes to Asia, and badminton is dealing with bird poop and a potential boom? For the full breakdown of all these stories, go to servepodcast.com or find us on Substack and sign up. And while you're at it, be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, follow us on your favorite podcast platforms, or on the social medias. Big thanks to the team here for pulling this together. This has been a production of Served Media. See you chuckers on Tuesday.